How did America rise up from a backwoods country, agrarian society with no real world stage to where it is today, the biggest superpower that the Earth's ever known? Arguably. We've pioneered industries. From Andrew Carnegie's revolutions in steel, which I'm sure a lot of us know about, to Orville and Edgar Wright's innovations in aviation and all the innovations that have come since in that field, to antibiotics, which is now the basis of our health system, to even the space race. All these innovations in our society haven't been the result of mindless tinkering and random experiment. They've required the greatest innovations in science and technology. Science has single-handedly given us the tools to accomplish this. Without it, we don't have the quality of food that we have. We don't have the meat in our freezers. We don't have refrigerators. We don't have long-distance transportation, technology, smartphones, the internet. We don't have hardly anything that makes our society what it is today. Without any innovation at all, we're little better than the nomads that roamed the earth thousands of years ago. So what is science? And why does it matter? So science is two things. The first thing that it is a body of knowledge. And this body of knowledge, it attracts thousands of people every year to pursue careers in science. But what's really important is the second part. It's an entire process of finding what is true. And it's self-correcting, and it's self-correcting in that if someone performs an experiment in, say, Florida, and they want to put their guests to the test and they have certain findings, then someone in Ohio or someone in Louisiana might want to do the same exact thing, or they might want to try and prove the other person wrong. Over months and years and decades, it depends on if you're going with the same guess or if you're going with different guesses, you start to establish emergent truths. If we figure out how to manipulate electrons, we can let them produce pure energy, light. Or if we learn how to manipulate the genetic code of species, we can have better tasting, longer lasting food, and we can have hundreds of types of lovable companions. If we look at distant planets and distant galaxies, we can see the path that our own planet is headed down. Okay, so let's look at Richard Feynman. Richard Feynman, he was an incredible physicist and he was very well celebrated by the scientific community. He got a Nobel Prize for his work. While his later work influenced the foundations for higher level science, most of the stuff that he did not go into the public view. But there is one thing that you guys might know about. His work in a secret government project in Los Alamos, New Mexico during World War II changed the face of war forever. Had him and other scientists not decided to take up the Manhattan Project, the foreign policy today, let alone the 50s, 60s, and 70s, would look entirely different. Science has definitely been responsible for some significant risks in the 20th and 21st centuries. The release of CFCs into our atmosphere have depleted our ozone layer and burned an entire hole in our atmosphere, which we're still recovering from. Innovations in weaponry, tanks, and bombs have wasted millions and millions of lives for hardly any reason at all. And nuclear weapons, they still risk billions of lives every single day, and they risk unearthing our entire planet. So Richard Feynman, later in his life, when faced with some regret and some contemplation over what he's done, he asks, "Is science of any value?" And he goes on to describe a kind of Buddhist teaching that he learns, and he talks about keys. So science gives us keys, and either of those keys, in his words, he can either unlock the gates to heaven or the gates to hell. So science is not, the value of science is not to create something positive, it's to create something. So it's what we make it. It's in our hands. It seems today it's unfortunate because as an American society, we hesitate to use that at all. In the public sphere, we've seen mass hysteria over GMOs and vaccines. GMOs, people have been thinking, can cause harmful effects such as cancer and other things. And vaccines, there have been serious concerns over their risk of causing their children to have autism, 100% genetic disease. In the legislative sphere, we've seen intense defundings in NASA and the EPA, which are the nation's two leading science institutions. So this tells me that people just really aren't educated on what science is and what its value is. When we defund science, we threaten to undo pretty much everything that our society has built up in the last 100 or so years. And we start to let those much needed jobs go over to other countries. If we continue in this path, we're way too easily left in the dust. If we decide to trust this self-correcting, self-improving process more than anyone else, then we can innovate smarter, better, and faster than anyone else. The future's in our hands. Thank you.